It's the little things, Jimmy. It's the little things that rip you apart. It's the little things that get you caught.
It doesn't have your typical Hollywood ending. And I think after reading this, I found myself returning to it in my mind. And I think that's exactly how audiences will feel. It's one that will last with you and have you questioning your idea of how we look at people, how we look at criminals, how we look at ourselves, and what happens when we get extremely obsessed with something.
The film asks big questions about guilt, about innocence, about assumptions, identity. So I think that, it's easy to look at someone who's different and to make assumptions. And in this script especially, I think that, we all go down a path that is unsure and trepidatious. And, I'm excited for people to see it. I think it's going to cause a little conversation.
I came up with the story in the early 90s and outlined it and wrote a script. And then through the years, there were several different directors that almost made it. And then in 2000, I started directing. And so every few years, Mark Johnson would ask me about the little things. And I would say, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not ready to do it yet. It was a little too dark, the material and those kind of things. And then just in the last year or two, we started having discussions about it again. And other friends of mine that loved the script had urged me to revisit it. So thankfully, Warner Brothers, who had owned it since the early 90s, said yes.
Actually, John and I were going to work together. I forgot how long ago it was. He wrote a wonderful script then. And also, John is kind of, I guess, known as the script doctor, and worked on another film I did. I hope it's Safe House. Safe House. So I was well aware of his abilities, but this one was very interesting. I mean, and touching, but also just the story behind it, that it was something he wrote like 30 years ago almost. But it just spoke to me at this time.
Here's a script that I read and instantly knew was going to be special. It felt special. It felt like a story, a film noir that had a nostalgic feel to it, not just because it took place in the late 80s, early 90s, but there was just something about it that you don't quite see anymore in films these days.
When I first read the script, I thought it was great. I really was taken in by the characters, by the suspense.
Guy's a shark. If he stops, he dies. He likes to drive. Probably has a decent car, maybe 2, high mileage.
You must really like my car.
I do. How's the trunk space?
The spots in the movie are the spots I wrote in 1990. I wrote the Hollywood Reservoir because I lived not that far from there and thought that it would be a cool set piece, an interesting one. The main thing for me was just to stay away from Hollywood landmarks because I didn't want to fall into too much film noir or make it too much like LA Confidential or Chinatown or those kinds of things. I wanted to expose an LA in a different way. LA is perhaps the most photographed city in the world. So to be able to show other parts of LA that are just as much LA as Musso and Frank's and the Chinese Theater and the Hollywood sign.
I tell you, I've been to places, from Pasadena to Alhambra, Whittier to wherever we are now, Santa Clarita, Skid Row to, I've been some places, I've been here a long time in LA and a lot of places I've never been before. And it's a big city, culturally, geographically diverse, and that was a part of the fun, to go to so many different places and hang out, go places we never would have gone. You never would go as a regular citizen.
It was great for me. I don't think I had shot a film in Los Angeles for a long time, so that was a really nice part of it to shoot in LA. It's such a legendary place for cinema, and I really enjoyed it. We shot in practical locations all over the city, and that was great. You know, when you make films, you go to places that normally you would never go, so it educates you and changes you in a way.
You're not exactly a department favorite.
Things probably changed a lot since you left.
You still got to catch him, right?
Yeah.
Not that much has changed then, right?
It is a thriller. It's extremely psychological. It's fast-paced, it's exciting, it's entertaining. If you like this genre, I think this will be a very special film in that sense. But then it's so much more than that. And that's when you start digging into the layers of the film, which inevitably have, I think, profound messages. And yeah, it's powerful.
It's been fascinating watching. There's a scene we shot with Jared and Rami, and they're in the interrogation room, and I'm in the observation room. So they shot, the cameras were all in there the first half a day or whatever it was, and I'm just in the observation room and missing the popcorn, just watching these two young guys go at it. You know, whatever amount of years ago, 30 years ago, I was the young guy with the Gene Hackman or whoever, and now I'm that guy watching the young guys. So it was fascinating watching their different styles, the way they come to the character, and to watch their joust, if you will.
Well, there was no doubt in my mind that when you put Denzel and Jared into a room, there was going to be some fireworks, and that's exactly how it felt. It felt electric. It felt heavy in a very good way. It was tense. It was very conflicted, and I think what was very powerful is that there were so many emotions and feelings going on, and everyone attempting to repress all of that, which always makes for good storytelling.
Well, little things. You had John Lee Hancock, Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and just an incredible team of people involved in the project. So I was really quite honored to be a part of it. For me, Denzel is Brando. He's one of the titans, one of the greats, and it was just a thrill to be on set with him and to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head with Mr. Washington was pretty intense, phenomenal, and just once in a lifetime. So
Why is that? Why is that?
how's the trunk space?
Joe Deacon is a sheriff who has a past, who was involved in a very tragic incident, who's asked to return to as a member of the L.A. homicide department. He's a homicide detective. He's asked to return to where he worked originally and to deliver some evidence. He's embarrassed about it. He's damaged. He's still arrogant, and I think he had to go through it in order to grow through it.
Well, there is a certain amount of mystery that comes along with Albert Sparma. He is, he could be a red herring, he could be, a villain, he could be a savior. And I think the film, John did a great job in the script of threading that needle and keeping us on the edge of our seats. And I think it's rather unconventional, surprising in a way, the film, where it goes. And I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at the ending. I know I was when I read it, and certainly when I was there doing it on the day. It's a very shocking ending and a movie that really keeps you glued to the screen. You have to pay attention to the detail. So yeah, it's fun in that respect.
For me, this is unlike any other character I've played. So It was something that I was nervous about, and I think we as actors, we get excited when we get a bit nervous. Something about the duality of having this job that can be so daunting emotionally and psychologically, and going home to a family where you are still have to be the father and the husband, and there was something in the challenge of that that I thought would be special, and it turned out to be just that.
How's a guy with the best clearance rate in the department work 15 years without a promotion?
Maybe I didn't go to the right church.
When I look in your eyes, what I see, it ain't good.